Hi, and thanks for joining me in this discussion of fronts. You probably remember from your basic meteorology class that fronts are a boundary between two different air masses. We're going to change that definition. Our new definition is that fronts are elongated zones of strong temperature gradient, strong static stability, and also strong cyclonic vorticity. The first part of that is that fronts are zones. They are not lines. They are lines drawn on the surface chart, but what you're not seeing on the surface chart is the zone. And typically the zone extends out ahead of warm fronts and behind cold fronts. This is what we mean by frontal zone. Notice that the zone is out ahead of the warm front and behind the cold front. And this is where we see changes in temperature, in static stability, and also cyclonic vorticity. Just getting a little bit more detail into what exactly is a zone. When a front goes through, we don't see an immediate change in temperature. On one side of the front, it may be 70 degrees. It doesn't automatically drop right down to 20 degrees. There's a time period as the front goes through where the temperature drops or temperature changes. The same thing with pressure, and also the same thing with wind or cyclonic vorticity. So it's a zone. It's not a first order discontinuity where it just magically changes from one value to another, but there's a gradient in the change, a temperature gradient, a vorticity gradient, and also stability gradients. How wide is the zone? Well, it depends upon what's forcing the zone, or forcing the front, what's making the front go. Some fronts have stronger forcing, and as a result, the zone is a lot narrower. If the frontogenetic forcing is weaker, then the zone may be wider. But on average, they kind of range from 50 miles wide up to about maybe 150 miles across. The other thing that you need to know about zones or frontal zones is that they're not just at the surface, they extend up through the atmosphere, what we call tropospheric spanning. And tropospheric spanning means that they span the troposphere. They go from the surface all the way up to the tropopause. This is a cross-section through front. On the left side, we see cold air, so that's north. To the south, you see warmer air. And I've drawn the frontal zone in black. And you can see the frontal zone goes all the way from the surface up into the stratosphere. And it connects up with the tropopause. And this is a very important concept that we'll spend more time on in other lectures. So that gives you an overview of what fronts look like. In the next subsequent videos, we're going to go into a little bit more detail as far as the temperature, the change in stability, and also the change in cyclonic vorticity.